What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, guys. We checking out something a little different. Oh, I wouldn't say different, but we back talking about about the Viking Age and Germanic and Scandinavian tribes. How different were they? Which is interesting because I only pretty much when it came to the Vikings, only heard pretty more about Scandinavian Vikings. At least on that side. But we here checking this out, finna see what it's about. So y'all hit that subscribe button to jump into it. See these differences. Didn't know how many. It's a lot when it comes to the Viking Age. Norse magic and belief.
Velkommen og god dag alle sammen. Today we are speaking about the relationship between the Norse pagans and the Germanic pagans, because a lot of people get a bit confused and they try and separate these two, and they think that Germanic tribes and the Norse were two different people, and they definitely were not, depending on what time period you're looking at. So when we read about the Germanic tribes in Germania by Tacitus, or other works about the Germanic tribes, or even when we read about the Anglo-Saxons in
I heard of that.
in their chronicles about pagan times, a lot of people consider these as different people, different countries and different things, but it's
that's all the same
that's not
people?
true. They say, oh, the Germanic tribes and the Norse were two different people, and just because we read something about the Germanic tribes, that doesn't mean it was true about the Norse.
I wonder how can you tell the difference though if they're all the same people.
Well, that's actually not true
I wonder
at all.
what their
right?
differences is then.
We're all one people with one language and one religion if you go back far enough in time. So I want to show you this map here. This is from about the year 0, so right about 1 AD or 1 CE, as you can see right there, and this is the time where most of the works by the Romans describing the German peoples were written. Within 100 or 200 years from this date. So you can look at here at the Germanic tribes area, and it doesn't look much like Germany today, does it?
At all.
That's the area of Germany.
That is interesting. It looked like it's a lot. I mean, if we just pointed out that yellow, what is that? Denmark right there, bottom half of Sweden and Norway.
Germanic tribes, and their language and religion. It was more like northern Germany, and it included Frisia and parts of the Netherlands and a little bit of what was Poland and even Czech Republic. It looks like, but then of course you have the Scandinavian areas, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and at this time we were all the same people. We all had the same language, same religion, same practices, and we looked the same too. And actually, probably people in the Celtic areas that you see here, they would not have been all that different to us at this time. They had a different language, but they would not have been
pretty
that
much kind of similar
different from us. So as you see in this map, most of Europe at this time was actually Celtic.
Wow.
The Gauls were a Celtic people.
On everything.
A lot of people looking for the Gauls and on this map and saying that, but the Gauls.
Yeah, because the Celtic that's pretty much all of the southern part, eastern, western part of Germany, maybe a little bit of the Netherlands, Belgium.
Celtic language. They were a Celtic people and a Celtic religion. And
France.
You can see Celtic religion spread all over Europe, so that's a pretty cool little thing. If you go back far enough, most of Europe was Celtic language and religion. So you see the areas on the map as we get further on in time and to the year 100, 200, 300, the Romans pushed up and invaded a lot of the Celtic areas, but they never made it into Germanic territory. So for many, many hundreds of years after this, all the Germanic areas that we see here were still pagan and still had the same religion altogether. And actually Germanic tribes pushed out and settled in different areas. They pushed south in towards Rome even, and they pushed north and east in towards England. And the next few centuries to come. So we were all pagan at that point, worshipping the same gods that we all know today. Of course, the language and culture developed differently in different places. So the Norse would have called their god Odin, the Germanic area would have called Wotan, and English areas Odin. But we were still all the same pagan same religion, same everything like that. Just
Okay, I
different.
feel like I've heard those names because I was watching the Viking series. Not the new. I think they got a newer one. Then I was watching the one probably from back in 2011. Forgot what that. But I've heard all three of these names on there mentioned on those on that show too.
As time went on. But then England became Christian officially in about the year 500. But even after that, the Germanic tribal areas in the north of Germany and Scandinavia still remained pagan. And this lasted for a long, long time until just before the year 800, when Charlemagne came in and he messed stuff up, basically.
Dang, Charlemagne.
Charlemagne of France, the Roman emperor from France. That's when this area we see here today in northern Germany became forcibly Christianized. Horrible stories that Charlemagne did, some horrible things to the
I need to hear about Charlemagne.
Area, but I will go into that.
Charlemagne's empire.
But around the year 800 is when Christianity and Latin would have been forced on the Germanic tribes here. And it is then that we can start to see a split, because Charlemagne did convert the people living in northern Germany and that area, but he never made it all the way up to Denmark. So it's at that time, right around the year 800, that we start to see a split between the Norse pagan Germanic tribes in Scandinavia and the now Christian peoples in the south of the Danish
Charlemagne,
border, as we see today. But on one hand, until about the year 800, we were all still pagan, practicing the same religion and traditions. There would have been some differences in language and culture, like I said, traditions in everyday life, but we were still the same people, same religion. Before the year 800, for example, Norway and Germany would have had similar relationship to, say, the Samoans and the Tongans. Like today.
Wow, okay.
Different areas, slightly different traditions and practices, but ultimately almost an identical people and culture.
Wow, that's an interesting comparison right there.
It really annoys me when people want to ignore evidence about religion and practice that we find in the Germanic tribal areas and in the area of what is now Germany, and they say it's not valid evidence to use for the Scandinavian people, and that's just crap. Before
that's why I'm saying, like, from the looks of it, it looked like the Germanic, it was majority of Scandinavia, just about, from that map at least.
Germanic tribes in mainland Europe would have probably had 90% of the same beliefs and practices as the Scandinavian tribes in Sweden and Norway. So that's just the point I wanted to make and here, because in other videos we will look at evidence from texts describing the Germanic tribes in mainland Europe. And we can definitely learn a lot about the Scandinavian people, even though the Romans never made it all the way up to Scandinavia and never wrote about the Scandinavians. They wrote about the Germanic tribes. And at that time, when the writings were done, we would have been the same people. There would have been very, very little difference in our two cultures, in those two geographical regions. So that's about it for this video. I will do more, especially looking at things Tacitus said and other Roman writers from that time.
Oh my God, Charlemagne had changed some things.
Norse religion and culture that way. That's about it for this video. Vi ses nästa gång.
Vi ses what? What that mean? Nah, my guy Charlemagne. I need to learn about Charlemagne because I've heard his name a lot. Just in a lot of different history videos that I've checked out. Especially probably heard his name a little bit in the last video I checked out about the Vikings, or it could have been Rome. I can't remember too much when it comes to Charlemagne, but I know I've heard that name plenty of times. But appreciate somebody recommend that I check this video out. Yeah, I guess now it's time to look at these tribes individually and kind of go into detail. But if y'all like, y'all can send those recommendations down below. But that's all I have for this video. Y'all hit that subscribe button. Like I said, send down those recommendations. Y'all be blessed, be the best, and be you. I'm out.